All right, so wrist cars. The wrist cars are a pretty obvious movement in that we're just gonna make a circle with our wrist. The trick is, or the challenging aspect is, to actually isolate the movement to the wrist. So we wanna really monitor ourselves for how much the hand maybe wants to participate in the motion and or how much the forearm actually participates in our wrist movement for the purpose of the cars. So because we're isolating movements in the wrist, we want to keep the supination and pronation aspect out of the forearm. We're also going to try to keep the hand in our starting position, whatever that is. So in this case, I'm just going to take a straight, neutral kind of hand position, but I quite like doing this in a fist as well. Whatever position you're choosing, just maintain that position throughout. So my upper body cars, for today, I'm gonna monitor myself for unwanted movement just with my opposite hand. But if I wanted to up that concept of irradiation, so adding that kind of global whole body participation in this single joint movement, I may want to integrate a little tension into that left, or in this case, my left arm. In which case, you could place like a deck of cards or even your phone on your forearm, and if you lose it, you know that you're starting to rotate into the forearm and not just in your wrist. So that's another idea too, is just place a little something on your forearm. For today, I'm going to use my hand. So I'm going to place my hand on that forearm. I'm just going to keep my upper arm glued to my side. I'm just in this kneeling position so that you can actually see my head. And I'm just going to pull my fingertips down as far as I can. And then I'm going to sweep them towards me, moving into what's called ulnar deviation. As I sweep out to the side, I'm gradually bringing the wrist into flexion. And then I'm sweeping those fingers out to the side to radial deviation, and then back into extension. So that was one circle. I'm going to do one more. And I'm doing my best to try to keep my hand from trying to join the party, as well as trying to keep my forearm from trying to join the party. So now I'm reversing. So moving from my extension out away from me, that's radial deviation, up into flexion. I have to think, so I can't talk as well. And then out to ulnar deviation, moves towards me, and then back to extension. I also usually do an extra set with my hands in a fist as well. I love that lengthening that I feel in the back of my forearm in those extensors. So I will often do an extra 1 or 2 circles with my hand in a fist as well. And like all our cars, this isn't the only position or the only variables that we can change, but the principles remain the same. Can we isolate the movement to our wrist? Can we move with control and imagine that we're moving that limb or that part of the limb through space as if there's some form of resistance to just really increase that neuromuscular system's involvement in the action. And then that underlying sort of body awareness of stabilizing and creating maybe a little bit more tension and tone in the aspects of you that are not moving. All right, so that's your wrist cars.